Joining us now is Middle East specialist, professor in international relations at Schiller University and the author of the book Mécanique des conflits, cycle de violence et résolution, Myriam Benraal. Thanks very much for being with us on the programme. Let's talk about this attack, first of all, on this US base in Iraq, the sort of overnight news, if you like, potentially carried out by Iranian proxies. I mean, do you think it raises the tension in the region even further?
Well, I think it comes after the promise made by the Iranian regime of retaliation against Israel and the US as the major ally of Israel in the region. So this is not a surprise because I don't think we were expecting full-blown confrontation despite the very excessive vocabulary used by the Islamic Republic. I think most experts expected this type of attack, a proxy attack led in this case by militia groups that are very close to Iran for historical reasons, for military reasons. And I think we're seeing through this specific attack also a convergence of resentment between different actors for the situation in Gaza. There's also a very deep resentment still at play in Iraq against the US presence for the reasons we know, the US occupation, the recent history of this country. So I think I'm not very surprised, and I don't think most experts are, because we were not expecting something more violent at this stage.
Presumably, though, that won't be the end of it, if you like. I mean, there will be some other attacks. Do you expect? What kind of scale do you expect them to be?
So I think there are two, apart from Gaza and maybe the northern front with Hezbollah. I don't think that we are seeing more escalation elsewhere in the region, with also maybe the exception of the regular attacks led by the Houthis. But I think that the de-escalation process, if we go beyond the words of revenge that are used by most actors, is already at play. And the main question, which I think was recalled by Blinken, is indeed how to relaunch diplomacy negotiation around a ceasefire in Gaza, which will be very complicated now that Hamas has lost its main negotiator in the figure of Ismail Haniyeh. But this is the only way of containing violence, and which I think was very clear in the words of Blinken. Again, this is the policy that the American administration will follow, and there will be no more significant military implication of the United States.
We heard in the report just before I spoke to you, Turkey saying they don't believe at all that Benjamin Netanyahu is honest or truthful about wanting peace. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think we have not really seen any convincing move coming from Netanyahu and his government towards peace or towards any appeasement of the situation. So I think Netanyahu is also one of the problems in a very complex equation. He's not the only one, but he's not shown any goodwill, and I think that everyone agrees. So we'll see also what happens in Israel, because the Israeli society is extremely divided nowadays after long months of war because of the situation of the hostages. Most of them never came back. They were never freed. A lot of Israelis are also very shocked by the levels of violence in Gaza. We need to bring some nuance into the picture. It's polarized, but I think there are more and more critiques that emerge. So we'll see also what comes from internal Israeli politics, which may change the deal. But for the moment, Netanyahu looks like he wants to do his thing on his own, and we'll see how much influence the US can exert towards the escalation again, and especially in Gaza, because this is the main problem.
Yeah, I mean, there are all sorts of diplomatic efforts underway, aren't there, notably from Jordan, from other countries as well. I mean, do you have any hope for those coming to fruition?
Well, I don't think that, as I said, I don't think that all the Israeli society wishes, and I'm also talking about part of the political elites of the political establishment. We're also seeing critiques from the army, from Tzahal. I don't think that Israel wishes to end up completely isolated in the region. So yes, I think that more and more pressure will end up, I hope, convincing Netanyahu to de-escalate and to come up with a plan for the afterwar, because for the moment, that's also another problem. We don't really know what's going to happen to Gaza, what the plan is for the day after. But we're seeing more and more pressure from within Israel, which I think will be the key to a change.
If there is some kind of attack on Israel, do you think, bearing in mind what happened in April when there was a large international coalition that helped shoot down a lot of the missiles which were fired at Israel and drones, do you think that will happen again to the same extent?
No, I don't think so, because it did not lead to the objectives. It did not allow Iran to realize the objective that it had when this attack, large-scale attack, but that was still very contained because it did not provoke any mass casualties. So I don't think that Iran will operate the same way, but I think we are going to see the perpetuation of these proxy wars in the war at different scales. But at the same time, as I said, I'm not really, apart from northern Israel at the border with Lebanon and Gaza, I'm not really seeing any sign of any direct full-blown confrontation between Iran, Israel, and the US. And as I said, the US does not want to be drawn back into this type of confrontation. So Netanyahu will also have to take this into consideration.
Good to talk to you on the programme today. Thanks very much for being with us, Professor of International Relations at Schiller University, Myriam Benraal. Thanks very much.